Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Go Ask Sawyer, episode 2. My friend Amy Blain is here. I only ever call her Amy Blain. Amy Blain, how are you today?
I am fantastic and I'm super happy to be here.
So today, Amy, she's one of my friends that know things about things. So I wanted her to come on today and really talk about her transformation. She's one of my first friends, I think, that has gone on this journey of like getting to know yourself and kind of going deep inside to figure out why I do what I do, who I am, and all of that. And Amy and I have I feel like we started this a few years ago, back in like 2016. And then we'd fall off and then we'd come back on, not friendship wise, but like just like journey wise. So because all the cool kids are healing now, we're going to heal too. And I feel like you've been going through some really great things where you've been doing a lot of new scary things in your world. Amy, I asked you a few questions in the beginning of your interview. Would you like to choose 2 or 3 of those things and share them with our thousands of listeners so that we can get to know you more?
Yeah, I love these questions. For those of you listening, she gives you like 5 different things that you can say about yourself so that you get to know her guests a little bit, like favorite quote, favorite book, favorite place, all that stuff. I'm going to choose the one thing you didn't used to love, but are learning to love. And I actually, as I'm like rereading this now, I thought it was like about yourself.
It can be
Like
about whatever you want it to be about.
one thing that you didn't used to love about yourself that you are learning to love. I would say, I wrote down being emotional.
Mm.
But I would say that a caveat to that, or like an extension to that, would be like really embracing my feminine energy. I have mostly been in my masculine, meaning I've been in like achieve mindset for most of my life. I've been in sales, and within the past couple of years, I've really been trying to find a balance between masculine and feminine energy, realizing that I'm lacking a lot of that like emotional softness, and seeing that maybe just thinking that it didn't even exist. Like I just didn't even have it. And really finding ways. And like you, Jamie, is somebody that's helped me with that, because I feel like you are really in that feminine energy. Like you're very soft, you're very empathetic, you're very empathic. And so you've been a great mentor and mirror for me to kind of go through that. So,
I appreciate that. I'm so soft.
you're very soft.
So,
Um, whatever that means.
I don't
You know what
know.
I mean? And then because I love astrology, I'm going to do the rising sign. So my sun sign is, I'm a Leo sun. I'm a Virgo rising, and I am a Sag moon. And I would say I love being a Leo sun. I love the spotlight. I love doing things that I'm in the spotlight. I think I have a tendency to feel like I'm being selfish when I'm doing that. But really, I think I just really enjoy that. So I love my Leo sun, and Virgo rising, just really in that detail. I'm somebody that likes to look at a process and like figure out the flaw
Mm-hmm.
very much. And, that's been part of my journey, is I think leaning into that, like seeing that as an asset versus, I don't know if anyone would relate to this, but being in a room and finding the flaws in a process and having people kind of make you feel bad about that. Like maybe you should keep quiet or keep it to yourself, and really leaning into that quality and seeing that that is an asset to be explored.
Question real quick about that.
Yeah.
When you talk about your flaws, do you think we've been programmed to see flaws as a negative? And so, like, looking at it in a different way of like, it's a flaw, but also this is who I am. Just even the way you were talking about it feels negative, especially when you said other people make you hold it against you or whatnot, where this is who I am. This is a part of me. And if it's a part of me, is it a flaw? Or is it just a part of me that makes me great, and how do I use that? I'm just wondering about the word flaw.
Yeah. I don't really like the word flaw. If that, I think it's normal part of society's vernacular is to use the word flaw and to look at these as flaws, especially as a woman. I think that we are really looked at under critique. I do believe that we have a tendency to critique ourselves more and to feel that from society. But I do personally believe in something that I have worked on, is that, is that concept of polarity, that yin and yang, that everything that is a positive is also a negative, and everything that is a negative is also a positive. Like,
Mhm.
being detail oriented could be, it's a flaw when I use it to make other people feel bad about themselves. It could be a flaw, or it could be an asset if I'm using it to better a process or to help someone be a better version of themselves. Yeah. Like, what do you think about that?
Well, I have really struggled with the idea of flaws with myself. And I think I've always thought of a flaw as a negative. Even, oh my gosh, a flaw, right? Like I am either all in 100% or I'm all out 100%. And I've always seen it as a flaw that I can't find balance. Whereas that's just who I am. And for whatever reason, I saw it as such like it's making me a bad person. Um,
Mm,
Not a person like that's evil, but a bad person that why can't I find balance? Why does it have to be 100% this way or 100% that way? But I'm starting to try to love and embrace that about myself. And if I can love and embrace that about myself, that's really all it should matter. Unless I'm
mhm,
hurting someone doing it. But at the end of the day, if I'm hurting someone doing it, then maybe, and that person's hurt, then maybe they shouldn't be around me, not necessarily like trying to push it off on other people, but I think that for whatever reason, even like if I said, Amy, you're too detail oriented, it's hurting my feelings. I don't know if I would say that or not.
mhm.
Maybe I would.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just more internally me. I feel bad about myself because I'm not detail oriented. And so I'm getting on you about that when really it's my own thing. So I know for myself, I am trying to embrace all these, we'll say flaws, not all, but
Mhm.
flaws, and learn from them and learn how they actually make me who I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really great in terms of just being curious. I mean, that's what I hear when I'm listening to you, is that you're really being open to just being curious about yourself instead
Yeah.
of like releasing judgment and just looking at it from curiosity. And I really like that. I'd also expand on that concept when you were talking about how maybe it's someone else's problem. Like if they're offended, then maybe that's more about them than you. And I totally agree with that. I think what that comes down to, like when I think about that, is about intention. Like, what's my intention for saying that thing? Because I
Yeah.
think we all know when we say something. I've said something to a friend, and unknowingly, maybe I was stressed out or I was having a bad day, and I said something. And the intention was to hurt their feelings because, which we have a tendency to do with our inner circle a lot, I think, unfortunately. And so, which I think is okay too. Like it's okay to say, okay, I messed up. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I was having a bad day, But I think with that process of, is it good? Is it bad? Which there is no good or bad, but it comes back to your intention. Like, what's your intention? Is your intention with you maybe to set a boundary? Like your intention is to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And so then if other people are offended by that, well, then that is about them because your intention is to protect
Hmm.
yourself and your energy.
And if it is other people, that's other people. But sometimes I think because we're humans, get so down on ourselves when really no one cares. No one's judging you. No one cares. Even the thing about me being 100% this way or 100% this way, that's my own internal thing. And once we can get past that and realize that's just really me against me,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole different conversation. Um,
Yeah.
because who are you trying to prove yourself to at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I like that.
Yeah,
Thank
I totally agree.
you. Mhm.
I agree with you, Jamie Sawyer.
I appreciate that. So, Amy Blain, I appreciate you agreeing with me. And moving in to my next question.
What are
So,
we going to talk about next?
we're going to talk about you. And
Oh, I love that.
I'm going to just say, like, I've known you since like 2011, I believe. The last 2 years, you have I feel like you've gone quiet because you've been
Mm.
doing a lot of building, which I'm so proud of you for because it's hard to go quiet, right? When you're used to like being out and being with friends and doing this and doing that. I feel like you have really intentionally gotten quiet, but you've been focusing on yourself. Can you
Mm-hmm.
tell us what's been your biggest like growth moment in the last 2 years?
I mean, there's just been so many, but I would say that, just is like some context, I'm 46 years old and, I think this is pretty normal as you kind of go through life. But the biggest really turning point for me was, I would say the biggest turning point was around the time when I turned 40, which could have been because I turned 40. It could have been, it was when my dad passed away.
Yeah.
I had started running. You and I did the marathon together. It was my first marathon. It was like your 27th or whatever, something like that. And there was just a lot of culmination. I was doing things, started to do things for myself, but I think, and through that process, it was really, when my dad passed away, he was the person that I was the closest to. And so when he was gone, it was almost like I was really thinking about this as we were, when I was thinking about this conversation and why that was so pivotal, him passing away. And when I really think about it now, it's because, when my dad was alive, he was my biggest cheerleader. I felt closest to him and my family. I felt the most accepted in my family by him. And but when he was alive, he didn't know, we had like a human experience with each other. Like there were things that I was doing that he didn't know about, how I was behaving, the decisions that I made. He knew some of them, he didn't know all of them. And I felt like when he passed, and everybody has a different different viewpoint on what happens when you die, but I felt like he really knew everything. Like he knew why I was making the decisions that I was,
Mhm.
why I wasn't, how I was betraying myself, why I was saying yes to certain things that I shouldn't have been saying yes to. It was almost like I felt like his eyes were like always on me.
Yeah.
And it was just a different type of relationship where I really felt like, oh my God, like I can't hide. Like I can't hide from anyone. And there was also this amplified feeling that you don't live forever,
Mhm.
that, your life is limited, and thinking a lot about, what I want my legacy to be. There was a deep feeling of what I wanted my legacy to be. I don't have children. So I had to really think about what did I want my legacy to be? And the biggest epiphany that I had, and through that, I started running, obviously, which running a marathon means that you have to take a lot of time for yourself. You have to say no to a lot of things. And I started journaling a lot. So those were two big things that I started to do. And through that, I really felt, I mean, it took me years to figure out, but really that my Achilles heel was my need and desire for acceptance.
Mm.
That acceptance to me was like oxygen. It was like, I need everyone to accept me and to like me and to want to be with me. And if one person didn't accept me, I felt like the house of cards was just going to fall.
Yeah.
And looking at what I was really doing and how much I was really self abandoning myself to earn this acceptance was, to be quite honest, I would say it happened over time, but there were large epiphanies throughout that time when I would make decisions, or seeing the reaction from friends when I would choose myself. It was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
how have I been living my life like this?
Mm.
Literally been wearing a mask in order to have people like me and to be accepted. And so that was really the biggest epiphany, that every decision that I was making through the lens of what other people thought,
Yeah.
and instead of what I think about myself. And once I started to, it was almost like an experiment, because at that point, that was, let's just say 4 years ago, I started to just run experiments. Like, I don't even know what I want to do. I literally have no idea what I actually want, because I've never asked myself. I've only asked other people. So now I have to try to see what I want and what I don't want. And it was really just through like experiments. Like I would say no to a lot more things because I wanted to see how that would feel. And I would say yes to things that I normally wouldn't have, just to see how it would feel, and
Can
really
you
just peeling back. Yep, go ahead.
I
You're going
was
to say
going to
something?
say, you just said, I would say no to things to see how it feels, or I'd say yes to things to see how it feels. And that is something that I know I'm really working on too. Like why is my body feeling this way? Why does my stomach feel that way? Why am I sweating all of a sudden? Can you talk a little bit about, do you know now when you say yes, when you should be saying no, do you know those body signals? Have you like made the connection yet?
I absolutely have.
Oh,
And I have gotten to a point where I'm so crystal clear with like what is a yes and what is a no,
mm,
that I know and I trust myself to check in with myself before I make every decision. And I think everybody's different in terms of how they make decisions. But for me, I do feel it like physically, like I can physically feel it in my body. Like what is a yes? What's best for me? But I think the other thing too that has helped me with that is gaining a lot of clarity on where I want to be in 5, 10, 20 years on my deathbed. Like I've done a lot of reflection on, on my deathbed, and I look back on my life, what kind of life do I want to say I lived?
Yeah.
And so looking at it from that lens allows me to get clear on even everyday requests, like what, and sometimes I make a mistake. I think that that's the thing, is that you
That's
can't
okay.
be perfect all the time, but to say, oh my God, I said yes to this thing, and I'm going to do it because I'm going to follow through on my commitment, or maybe I'm going to tell them that I have to cancel. But just being aware that, like, especially as a female, we have this really strong intuition
Yeah.
that is there to like guide us. It's not all on our own. We do have that companion, and to be able to tap into that, I think, is really important.
That is something that I'm working on. When I realize I've made a decision that I shouldn't, or I was doing it for validation. And I'm trying to get better at doing two things. Number one, just acknowledging, like, whoa, okay, I should not have done that, but I'm going to follow through anyways. Or
Mm-hmm.
trying to get better at, and I think you've really helped. I feel like you and I made kind of a pact with each other that we always said, if you want to say no or you have to cancel, you do not need to give an explanation. So I feel like I've practiced that a lot with you, but I'm trying to get better at just not explaining to people why. And it's
I
really,
mean,
go ahead.
do you feel, because I know that is something that you're working on. I mean, do you feel like, how do you know if something's like a hell yes or a no?
So my no starts right at my belly button. And then
Mm,
it almost feels like my body gets heavy. Like I don't even know how to explain that all the way, but I feel it in my stomach. My body gets heavy. And then I almost go into like a temper tantrum where it's like I've said yes to something and my body's like, oh my gosh, why did you do, like, everything inside of me is like, I don't wanna, I don't wanna, I don't wanna. And my clear yeses right now feel light. Like I say yes and I automatically smile.
mm,
One thing I've noticed about my yes. And then I'm also trying to work on, like, if something's a maybe, it has to be a no. Even if it's
mm,
not a no right now, like even if maybe it will become a yes, there's too many times where something in my life is a maybe.
mm-hmm,
I say yes because I'm like, well, I don't really have a good enough excuse as to why I shouldn't, so I'll just do it. But I'm trying to get better at, if this is someone asked me to come over,
mm-hmm,
in my head I'm like, I don't know, I don't feel like it, but maybe it could be fun. Like that needs to be a no.
mm-hmm,
Just because if it's not like a yep, I'm putting my shoes on and I'm walking out the door,
mm-hmm,
it has to be a no. And I think sometimes if I don't have a good enough excuse to say no, we just for some reason automatically say yes. And maybe I'm the only
mm-hmm.
one that does that, or maybe there's only a few people that do that, but I see it more often than not that you're saying yes to things just because.
Well, Ian, don't you think that, saying yes to somebody else, I mean, so how do I say this? Like when you say no, like say that maybe is a no, let's just say it's a no. And that means that, passing on that invite means that you get to spend time with yourself,
Yep.
or you get to do the thing that's most important for you. Not saying that like every yes to somebody else is a no to yourself, because it should be a yes to both of you. But, that time, I think the other thing is like really valuing the time with yourself. Like there's value in spending time alone. And I'm like the extreme case because I, could spend like 3 months by myself. Like the pandemic was a freaking holiday for me. I was like, this is fantastic. I'm just going to be alone. I mean, there's an extreme version of that where it becomes, not good, but mentally, or emotionally, but in general, I really enjoy my alone time. But you can feel pressure to spend time with other people. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about spending time alone? Like,
It's my favorite. It's definitely my favorite thing to do, and sometimes I forget how great it does feel, especially when you get kind of caught up in like doing all celebrations, or friends are going out, or I don't know, like just all different things happen. And then I spend time by myself, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is really great. Now it took me a long time
mm-hmm,
to get there because I felt like if I was spending time by myself, in my head I was like, I'm being lazy, I'm ignoring my friends, I'm putting I just it didn't feel right. It felt like I
mm-hmm,
was either being lazy or being selfish, or I don't know. It didn't feel
mm-hmm,
right. But I think it took me about 6 to 8 months to really kind of embrace it. And then all of a sudden, I just like to be alone. I like to go out to dinner by myself. I like to take myself on dates. I like to go to the gym. I could lay on my couch and watch TV. I like to read a book. There's something very freeing about not having to like check in with someone, wait for someone, at like, do you want to do this? If you want to do this, and we can do it together as a group. And you're waiting for people. Like, I'm just gonna move. I do like to take my own car places because then I can leave when I want to leave or arrive when I want to arrive.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
that phrase, what does it say? One of the most dangerous women is a woman who is completely comfortable being alone. Do believe in that, because once you're okay being by yourself, you no longer rely on other people's validation or anything of that sort. If someone wants to be in my life, I want you to be in my life. I don't need you to be in my life. I want this job. I want this relationship in my life. I don't need you. And if it's not working, then you can go because I'm good. But I mean, literally, this has taken me a year and a half, 2 years maybe, to finally like embrace that. Am I perfect at it? 100% no. Like, I still find myself falling into little dips here and there with people. But again, acknowledging like, oh, you know what? I haven't spent any time by myself, or oh, I feel myself sliding back into old ways. It's not a bad thing. I think once you can acknowledge what's happening, that's huge. Like, that's the moment where it's like, okay, I'm starting to heal, or I'm starting to learn about myself. Because I think sometimes we do all of this, because I'm going to talk to you about your next move in a minute. We do all of this. We set these new intentions. We come up with a new job, and either it doesn't turn out the way we want, or we backslide. And then we're like, well, I'm horrible. Or see, that's why it didn't work. Whereas it's like, no, we all backslide. What did you learn from that? Or what did you do differently this time that you didn't do last time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's where I want to take you into your book club. You have this amazing book club. What's it called? The Amy Blain book club? It's
called the Live Big Book Club.
I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure that you corrected.
You can call it the Amy Blain Book Club. Yeah. What do you want to know about it? I love the book club.
First of all, I want to know, why did you start it? What was fun? What was hard? What do you like about it now? And did you learn anything about yourself from it?
Yeah, I mean, I started the Live Big Book Club almost a year ago, and I started it because I had really been going through this growth journey, and I was feeling very isolated because, I was listening to all the podcasts, I was doing the journaling, I was reading all the books, and I was doing all this stuff. I was spending a lot of time alone, and I would then spend time with my community, and I would be like, I don't feel like I belong to my community anymore. I think that when you are in this personal growth journey, I think you were one of the only few, I have a small handful of friends that, I kind of walked alongside me during this journey, which I'm so very thankful for. One of the scariest things about when you make a commitment to yourself, to personal growth, to becoming a better version of yourself, when you identify that you're not in the place that you want to be and you want to be somewhere else or live a different way, and you take those steps towards it, is the feeling of isolation and not belonging. Because unless everybody in your circle has also made that same goal for themselves, which they haven't, because we all are on our own path, then you're going to stop aligning with the relationships that you once had. And I think me, along with probably maybe everybody on the planet, already feels like, this inner feeling of like not belonging, or like there's something wrong with me. And that was just exacerbated through this. And I really struggled with it. And my instant feeling was to become resentful of my friends. Like, why can't I have these conversations with you? Why do you only want to gossip about people? Because, I used to be a big gossiper. Gossip. Like, we would be like, oh, did you hear about so-and-so? Da, 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 da. And that's how we communicated with each other. And I realized that was a really strong, that was something that was holding me back, was that gossiping. And so I really made a commitment to stop doing it. And then when I was around friends that would gossip, I would be triggered, and I would be like, you're a bad person because you're gossiping and I don't gossip. And so it became this, a lot of friction. And these were people that I loved, they were like family to me. And so I started the book club. I actually joined a book club because I wanted to start a book club, but I was like, I heard of this other one, and I was like, I'm going to join this one to see what it's like first, which I think is a really good, I would say, tip. Like if you're wanting to start something new, like join somebody else that's already doing it
Yeah.
to see if it's even something that you want to do. Do you want to show up every week for an hour? Do you want to have conversations with strangers? Do you want to be reading X, number of books a month?
Yeah.
Is that something that you even want to do? And it helps you really, even look at that process of what they're doing and be like, oh, I think I could make this better if I did it. So it's
Or
a
how would I
really,
make it my own? Like I love
yeah,
all
how do I
these,
make it?
but how can I make it my own?
Yeah, exactly. And so I joined that book club, and then I had decided, I basically had that and decided that, hey, I want to, create my own. I want to create it for just women, and really got clear on my intention, which was, I mean, for me, it was really about, I have a strong feeling about that everybody has a limitless potential within them, specifically as women. We always talk, we always hear about the glass ceiling. I think that that's very real. I've worked predominantly in male dominated industries my whole life. Um, so I've been very fortunate in a lot of ways, but there's also been, that feeling of like, this is your limit, this, whether that's self-imposed or externally imposed, that this is all you can do. And there's this like fire inside of me that says, no, we have limitless potential. Like I can do anything I want. You can do anything you want. Like there is no limit. And so creating that intention around like wanting to create a space for women to come together to connect, support, and ignite each other towards our limitless potential was really the intention for creating the book club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you created this amazing thing. I'm a part of it as well. What was scary? What was one fear you had when you started it?
That like no one would join, that
Okay.
that I would create, and I would be like, this is great. Why doesn't anybody else think this is great? So I think that was good. And, there's other different things that we could talk about in terms of like when you launch something like that, like other ways to do it and things like that. But I think that people would think that I was stupid, or not stupid, but like weird. Like, why would you want to do this weird thing that like nobody, it was different. It was very different than anything else I'd done. I'd been working in sales, a very traditional industry. And why would I want to, get into like personal development for women? It wasn't something that I had a degree in, I was known for being an expert in. Why would I want to do that? So I think people, the quintessential what other people would think,
Yeah.
was a big factor. Yeah.
Okay, and clearly people have joined and they're liking it. So what is one thing you've had this for a year. What is one thing you've learned about yourself?
I think it's that you have to trust yourself and to trust that if you are feeling like you are supposed to do something, that it is up to you to take the actions to do it. And that as long as it's something that you have gone inward and you're like, I'm doing this for myself and not for, outside validation, that it's not ego driven, that
It's okay.
my phone is ringing.
Oh,
Who's calling me?
it's so scary when your phone rings.
I know, it was really scary. Now I forgot the question.
Oh, I was just asking you what you learned. And you were just basically saying like if you feel it, do it, but it has to be up to you.
Yeah, that it has to be up to you. And that, honestly, that there is no wrong steps. I think we all think that our life has this like master plan, and that if we deviate from it, that we're going to end up in a place that we weren't supposed to end up. And I just don't believe that that's true.
Mm.
Specifically now is that life is just a great big experiment, and just doing what feels right for you. I think that the biggest challenge is just getting to that place where you actually can listen to yourself. If you can get to that place where you can just listen to yourself, then anything that you do from that space isn't wrong, especially if your intent is to serve other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think anytime your intent is to serve or help other people, you're never in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like what you said about it's. You said something about like just really knowing who you are and why you're doing it. Like if you started your book club and no one joined, but you were really proud of everything you did in the process, well, then you learned something.
Mm-hmm.
I know no one's ever going to be perfect in like, I'd never need validation from anyone ever again, because there's always going to be that. But I think it's
Mm-hmm.
more of just checking in like, okay, I did need I do want to know I'm a good, uh, book club leader, I do want to know I'm a good person or a good teacher or a good mother or a good friend. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you start to need maybe stuff too much, that's when maybe
Mm-hmm.
we just check in with why I'm doing this.
Right. And also like it it's not necessarily about, at least for me, doing the project of the book club hasn't been about getting anything, because it is about like learning about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because for instance, there'll be weeks that like only like two people show up, or like one time only one person showed up, and the old me is like, oh my god, like I'm a horrible person because only one person showed up, and this means that this is a really just a not smart thing. And I would really start to second guess myself. But instead I would look at that as an opportunity to say, Amy, how did that feel for you when only one person showed up? Are you okay? Is it okay? You are still a good person just because only one person showed up. And even just like the lesson is that I gain a deeper respect and understanding of myself. Um, and that's been really powerful, just to have and it also gives me an opportunity to be like, well, how can I make it better?
Yeah.
Is this an opportunity for me to make it more valuable to other people, versus going to that place of, because the programming for me for a very long time was that I'm just a bad person. Like
Mm.
all of my failures would mean I'm a bad person.
We're really
And
bad. We're
what was
not.
that? I'm sorry.
You said we're really bad people, and then I said we're not because you
We're
stopped
not.
talking. We're
Yeah,
not.
we're not bad people. We're really good people. But really just every time bypassing that thought and
Mm-hmm.
saying that, I am a good person,
Mm-hmm.
and I have positive things to contribute, and this is one of the contributions that I want to make. Um, yeah.
Well,
So,
I really love that, and I know that you're working on some other new things in your life. But
mhm.
as I start to like bring everything together and just like what you learned, what advice could you give to someone who either number one is like, man, I need to do some inward healing. I do not know where to start. I don't like reading books, or I don't even know what to journal about. Um, I've thought about this because people have asked like what I've done, and I feel like it's going to be different for everyone. Like everyone hits their own point where it's like, okay, enough is enough. But I'm just wondering from you, what is one thing that someone could do simply today to start their process or journey in trying to figure themselves out?
I mean, so going back to like what you said about, I mean, everybody has that kind of come to Jesus moment
Mhm.
where they're like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not further along than I want to be. And this is like the last time I'm going to feel this way.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I would say my biggest like tactical tip is to journal. That was probably the biggest thing that got me out of that dark hole several times, was to actually put my thoughts down on paper. And for anyone that's listening that's like, I don't want to do that,
Mhm.
that means that you should do it. Because I would say that, and I know, Jamie, that you journal too, but seeing the thoughts inside your head down on paper is extremely scary, but it's also extremely liberating. And it doesn't happen one time. I mean, I know that I spent, my God, a solid year journaling every single day, and I was maybe a little bit further along, but it doesn't happen overnight. So I would say journaling, like get a journal, commit to writing for 5 minutes or 1 minute. We talk about like micro habits. Just say, I'm going to write a paragraph every day, and I'm just going to write about what's in my head, or I'm just going to start a gratitude. I'm just going to start saying that what I'm grateful for every day. Because the challenge can be is that, and our society is really driven towards this, is to be more concerned about external factors than what's happening internally.
Yeah.
And we have to be able, the first step is to be able to calibrate ourselves, to be listening to ourselves internally
Yep.
before we start taking in external stimuli. And so that journaling process is, I think, the gateway to that. What do you think about journaling? Have you journaled,
Oh
and has
gosh,
that been a tool for you?
I love journaling. And I've encouraged people who are just like, I don't like it or whatever. I've even just encouraged them to start, just write a word down. Like, I'm going to sit
Mm.
down and I'm going to write down happy, and then ask yourself, why am I happy? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to kind of just start with a word and then ask yourself the why 7 times and just
Mm.
start there. I also like to pull cards. You and I are card
Mm-hmm.
pullers, and sometimes I would just pull a card. I would read it, and then I would just reflect on what it meant in my life at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or I would look up a Bible verse and write that down. Sometimes I just needed some sort of prompt, but there is no right or wrong. I do, however, I love going back, especially. I never used to do that. I would just write and write and go and go and go. But I've been starting to reflect maybe 6 months prior, or like last year in this month. What was I doing? What was I going through? And this Christmas, or sorry, New Year's Eve, I did a huge like letting go of 2022. And I went back to January 2021, and everything I wrote, all my intentions I wrote, I accomplished without even realizing I was accomplishing them. Like, it was
Wow.
insane when I went back and read. And I just think it's another way for you to give yourself that validation, or learning to trust. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this down. Oh, I did want that, or I did think about that. Um, but I would encourage people to do that, and then try to sit quietly for 5 to 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and just
Mm-hmm.
let whatever thought comes in your head come in your head, and that's and just let it go. Those are
Mm-hmm.
two things I would tell people to start with.
Yeah, I think that's great. Sitting quietly is obviously is a really good tip. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I would also say that, like, if anyone is feeling that way, honestly, I would just say, like, I know it sucks, but it's fantastic, because most people go through their entire lives and never get fed up enough to make a change.
Oh, yep. And then they get
They just
comfortable
don't.
and they get stuck. And again,
Yep.
I'm not saying that comfortability is wrong, but there is no growth in being comfortable. Um, and it's not like, well, I'm comfortable in my life, so I need to blow it up. It's more or less like, I am comfortable, so maybe what's one new thing I can do today? But I think we just
Mm-hmm.
get very stagnant in a job that we don't really love at all, but, well, I'm just here, or a
Mm-hmm.
location where I live, or a relationship. It's just always been this way, so I'm just going to leave it alone. When really, it's not fulfilling you. And you and I talk about low vibration and high vibration friends. And I
Mm-hmm.
know you've pushed me a lot in asking, like, why do you hang out with certain people? They seem very low vibrational. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and I said, could you imagine if all your friends were high vibration friends? And then I stopped talking and I was like, man, my life would just be awesome. Not that it's not now, but it's like, if every person you were surrounding yourself with, you left feeling a little bit higher, I just feel like, why can't that be?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And I,
mean, I would say, like, why can't it be?
yeah,
Like, I think it absolutely can be. Like, I feel like right now in my life, I would say like 99% of the people that I'm with are high vibrational. Like, I feel better when I leave the conversation. And it definitely was not always like that.
no, but
It
I
was
think
like the opposite.
I know, but I think that's where you have
And
to
a lot
start,
of that was me, like, and that was part of my problem. Like, I was bringing low vibration into the relationship too. So,
because you got comfortable and you were
mm-hmm.
just talking about the things, and you just got comfortable with what you were doing. But I just think that was a really, like, for me, it was a aha moment the other day. Like, wait, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't that be my bar? And I'm not saying like I can't surround myself with X, Y, and Z, but maybe that would help the when I answer yes or if I answer no.
Mm-hmm.
I know how I want to feel going in and out of it, and I want people around me to feel that way. So if I know I'm not going to feel a specific way, then maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's got to be a no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, okay, so you've healed ish.
Well, we're always healing,
Always
Jamie.
healing. You've kind of flipped the narrative in your head. You've done things scared. I have two questions left for you.
Okay.
So the first one would be, if someone is scared to do something, or when you were scared to do something, start a new job, move, because you also moved, bought a
Hmm.
condo, started a new relationship. How would you advise someone to push past that being scared?
I mean, what I would say is that, what's going to push them forward is, even if they're scared, is to think about and lean into the belief that everything that they want, like when they get quiet and they think about the life that they want to feel, the peace they want to feel, the joy they want to feel, to know that that is already, it's already happened. Like to lean into that belief that everything that they want has already happened. It's already within them.
Mm-hmm.
And their only job is to take steps in that direction every single day. I would say also that we are all responsible for ourselves, and that people should think about that. Like that if they're not happy with the life that they have and they're too scared, I don't want to be like too scared because that sounds condescending, but because it is very scary. But if they're feeling scared, that maybe that's the sign that that's something that they should do. And that that feeling of being scared is potentially perhaps the roadmap towards that more peace, more joy in their life. Like that's their own intuition telling them that that's what they need to do. And that, when it comes down to, kind of what I said about everybody's responsible for their own lives. Like we're all gonna die. Like I think, some people think it's morbid to talk about death. I think it's a great lesson and a great reframer of life. And it's a great motivator to get me through really challenging times.
Like it's all gonna end.
And
So
it's all going to end. Like I've literally had on some of my most terrifying days, like if I had to go to the doctor today and they said, you've got 6 months left to live, who would I want to spend today with? What would I want to be doing? What would I want to be saying yes to? What would I want to be saying no to? Like thinking about it in the sense, and I am responsible for that. My spouse isn't responsible for that. My employer isn't responsible for that. My friends aren't responsible for that. I am responsible for my life and what I want to do. And it doesn't matter what that is. That might mean that you want to work someplace that you have full benefits and you make $40,000 a year and you have, this wonderful life.
mm-hmm.
And that's okay too. Or if you want to be a multimillionaire, that's okay too. But ultimately, it is your responsibility
Yep.
to do it. And it's, anything new, anything worth it is going to be scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I love that what you just said. Anything worth it is going to be scary. Anything worth it is going to be scary. And I really, not that everything always has to be hard, but the things that are the most worth it and the things that have been the most scary have always come out so amazing at the end. At least
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've learned.
Yeah. And I would say too that a lot of times when we ask questions like this, like something that terrifies them, we think about like quitting your job. We think about these really big moments. And I think it's important to understand that terrifying moments, some of my most terrifying moments were like saying no to a cookout because I was afraid I was going to disappoint a friend.
Mm.
Like that was terrifying to be like, I can't go because I'm doing this, and being terrified that they were going to disown me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could mean saying no to a work project because you've got too much on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
It could mean asking for help when you've literally never asked for help in your entire life.
Yeah, that's scary.
So terrifying moments are a lot of times just those really, really small things that are going to make such a big, it's just going to open your life up in so many new ways. Those are the terrifying moments that it's like, okay, well, I'm not happy. What am I going to do? Am I going to, you know, allow someone else's happiness to dictate my happiness? Or am I going to do the hard thing that scares me so that I can get to the life that I want to live, that I deserve to live?
Yeah. I'm living in a scary moment right now. Even starting a podcast. I'm terrified people are going to be like, you have nothing to say. I don't know why you did this. That's
Oh, Jamie
I know.
Sawyer, you've got so many things to say.
Sharing fears. I'm in one right now, but I'm just going to move forward because I want to do it for me. And at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, if nothing happens, I'm just proud of myself that I tried something new and I don't even know what I'm doing. So we'll see how that happens.
Yeah. Well, and I would like to ask you too, because I've asked you this question before, but I'm curious what you would say now is because one of the things that I wrote down with like, you know, what you would tell someone that wanted to start something new is um, to ask yourself, what would you gain if you knew you were going to fail? Like,
What would I?
so if you think about this podcast and let's just say you get, you know, you're going to do X number of episodes and you get to the end of those episodes and you're like, you know what, like no one was listening. I didn't feel good about the process. This wasn't something that I was going to continue onward. Like, what would you want to have gained throughout this process for it to still feel like a win?
I think just being willing to try something. It's been a long time since I've done something new. I feel like
Mm,
everything I've done in my life, I'm somewhat good at, or I'm like I kind of know how to do it. This is the first thing I have done in a long time that I have zero knowledge or understanding. Like even looking at different platforms, I don't know what I'm doing. Writing down questions, like how do I edit? How do I upload? Um, so I think I just want to walk away from this proving once again to myself that you can do anything you set your mind to. And maybe not everything
mhm,
is going to turn out that way, but I do believe that everything is a step toward we are wherever we are meant to be or what we are meant to be doing. Um, and I hope I take away for myself like you can do it. And you,
mhm,
and even if you fail, you still did it. And that's not really failing.
mhm,
It's not really failing, right? Like if I make it to 8 episodes and I decide like, well, no one's listening or whatever, it's there's the only thing you fail at is the thing you don't do, that you don't even
mhm,
try or attempt to do. That's the only thing I think you can truly fail at is if you don't
mhm.
even try.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know how many people talk about starting a podcast and they just don't ever do it? And I have to just give you so much credit for like taking the steps. I mean, the outline that you sent me was really detail oriented. And from being a Virgo rising, I was like, this is fantastic. I have nothing to add, which is great. Um, and I give you a ton of credit for doing this. I mean, I'm super excited. I think you're a really great person to talk about deeper subjects with. And you know, once you kind of get into it and find your groove, I think it's going to be really expansive for you and for a lot of people.
I appreciate that. I can't wait to tell you next year what I'm be like. Oh my gosh, Amy, remember that one time?
When
Uh,
we're like listening to this like 10 years from now, you'll be like, oh my God, we sounded so stupid. Like, why did we say that? We were so stupid.
we're so dumb. I can't even believe we used microphones. That's stupid.
Why was I talking about my astrological sign?
I
Oh.
can't even do that. I'm excited. That's going to be a great conversation. Okay, one thing to wrap it up. Looking back at yourself 2 years ago, January 16th, 2021. Say anything. What would you tell yourself? What would you have avoided? Or what would you have done sooner?
So, what would I tell myself? I would tell myself to trust the unfolding of your life.
Mm. So if you could
I
pop
would
back 2 years and just say, Amy, just trust it.
just trust it. And you know, the other one that I was thinking of is that it's all going to be okay. Like it's all going to be okay. I think the last 2 years have been very, very scary for me. They've definitely been the most scary of my life. And I'm just starting to feel like I'm coming out of the tunnel. And so, Yes. So I would just say like, hey, and I remember I kind of kept that quote up during like the really scary times was like, trust the unfolding of your future self, which I thought was really, really helpful for me when you don't really know where you're going, but you just don't like where you are, you know? So
Yeah.
that's
You
a,
don't know how to go. You just don't know what you're doing. Don't
no.
like where I am. I don't want to be here. I want to go forward, but I have no idea where forward is or how I'm going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I did a couple times, and this could be helpful or not. And then um,
Mm-hmm.
I would go. I'd walk out of my front door. I would go on like adventure walks,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd walk to the sidewalk and just think right or left. And the first thing that came in my head, that's where I would turn. And I would say
Yeah.
across the street, or like I would just say little things. And the first thing that popped in my head, that's just where I would go. It was almost like a way to teach myself to walk into like the unknown without
Mm-hmm.
having a plan. I remember
I
doing,
think that's also like a great way to start to trust your intuition,
yeah,
you know, and start to trust yourself.
I
Yeah.
might need to go on an adventure walk tomorrow.
That's good. You should. And so what would I avoid? What
Yeah.
would I avoid? I would say trying to control the outcome or other people's opinions.
Mm.
Hmm. Trying to control other people's opinion has letting go of what other people think of me has been the biggest lesson of the past year, 2 years. And it's been the biggest gift. I would say I'm very close to fully letting go of what other people think of me. But I was, let's just say I was like 100% everything I did was because I was worried about what other people thought of me. And now I'm probably like at a 20%.
Okay.
And it just feels so much better
Hmm.
um, to not care as much about what other people think. So,
Oh my gosh, that sounds like
um,
a weight lifted off your shoulders, I'm sure.
yeah. And it's just a matter of deciding that
Hmm.
you're just not going to care. You know, it's really that simple.
I also feel like people don't care as much as we think they do.
No, they don't.
We're all just scared. We're all just scared.
Hmm. Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
Any other lessons or anything else? What would
I would just say, what would I have done sooner? I would say my biggest thing is believed in my ability to co-create anything. Like today, I believe that I have the ability to co-create anything that I want. And it does come back to trusting your intuition and listening and co-creating with the universe.
I love that. I can co-create anything I want.
Hmm.
Man.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother podcast.
I was going to say maybe I need to write down for next time.
Hmm.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, my first guest ever. I hope this goes well, and if not, we'll just re-record it.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about myself and talk about you all day long. So if we have to re-record it, that's okay.
Great, great. Well, I love you, and you're amazing, and I know you need to get ready for your book club, and you'll see me tonight. So I'm excited about that because this book is really great. Um,
Awesome.
but yeah,
Thank you. Thank
love
you. I love you too.
you. Bye.
Bye.